When you stepped into a Western saloon, the noise hit you first, boots scraping across wooden floors worn smooth by years of traffic, low voices folding into each other, metal tapping metal behind the bar. The sound never settled into silence. It shifted, rolled, adjusted itself. Even in the pauses, the room breathed. But if you stayed long enough, you noticed something else. The smell. Not just whiskey. Food. Hot grease. Simmering broth. Bread catching heat near the stove. Fat hitting iron. Steam lifting into the rafters. And most people never imagine what that food actually was. Some saloons served only drinks. Others ran small kitchens or partnered with nearby boarding houses. In smaller towns, the line between saloon, cafe, and boarding table often blurred. For men traveling between camps or passing through town, cowboys, miners, railroad hands, this could be the first town-cooked hot meal after days in camp or on the trail. Sometimes it was the first hot meal in longer than they wanted to admit. On the frontier, food wasn't decoration. It wasn't presentation. It wasn't comfort in the modern sense. It was fuel. And the meals that mattered were built to keep a man standing. Beans were among the most common staple foods in the West. Cheap, durable, filling. In saloons that served meals, and more reliably in boarding houses, pots of beans often simmered slowly through the day. Pinto or navy beans cooked down with salt pork, the rendered fat carrying flavor into every bite. In some establishments, the pot was kept going. The lid lifted, the beans stirred, water added. The batch stretched just a little further. Each ladle mattered. Each bowl was measured with an eye toward how many more might still need eating. Nothing complicated. Nothing wasted. A bowl cost little. Sometimes it came with bread, or appeared as part of a saloon's free lunch, a salty spread designed to encourage another drink. A man could sit down with that bowl, warm his hands on the tin, and feel human again for a few minutes. The steam hit his face. The noise softened. For a moment, the road felt farther away. It was reliable food. Because in a place where almost nothing was certain, a hot bowl of beans was. And some meals existed for one simple rule: waste nothing. Prairie oysters appeared most often wherever cattle were worked. Bull testicles, cleaned, sliced, and fried. Practical food made from what would otherwise be discarded. Ranch hands ate them after castration days, and when they did reach town kitchens, some saloons served them as novelty food or inexpensive protein. They weren't universal. They weren't ritual. But they were real. They arrived hot, crisp, smelling of fat and iron. And if a plate landed in front of you, would you eat it? On the frontier, the answer mattered less than the calories. Pride bent quickly when hunger pressed hard enough. A reminder that frontier cooking measured value differently. Some food was eaten for hunger. Some food was eaten to stay part of the room. Pickled eggs waited in glass jars along saloon counters in many towns. Cloudy glass. Vinegar biting the air. Eggs suspended in liquid that stung the nose before you even tasted it. They floated quietly, unchanged for long stretches of time. Preserved in vinegar, salt, and spice, they lasted far longer than fresh eggs, in an era without refrigeration, provided they were stored properly. They were inexpensive, portable, and intentionally salty. Saloon food often doubled as marketing. Salt made men thirsty. But for someone short on money, a pickled egg and a piece of bread could stand in for a small meal. It doesn't sound like much, until it's all you have. The egg was sharp, sour, alive on the tongue. It woke the mouth even as it quieted the stomach. Simple preservation. Simple survival. Frontier kitchens had a different definition of value. Mining towns ran on stretched ingredients. Pot pies turned small amounts of meat into something that could feed many. Tough cuts stewed with root vegetables, thickened with gravy, sealed under heavy dough, and baked in shared ovens. The crust was thick. The the filling heavy, the pan hot enough to burn careless fingers. Boarding houses served them regularly. Meal-serving saloons sold them by the slice. Sometimes the knife didn't cut clean, and the gravy spilled onto the plate before anyone complained. A single pie might pass through a dozen hands before it was gone. They weren't elegant. They were efficient, and efficiency fed towns built on uncertainty. Tongue was an economical cut, and frontier kitchens used it often. Boiled slowly until tender, peeled, sliced, and served with brown gravy, it provided rich flavor from an animal part that might otherwise go unused. The meat was soft, almost delicate, the gravy dark and heavy. It clung to the bread, lingered longer than expected. Nothing about it was luxury. It was resourcefulness on a plate. The same logic that shaped most Western cooking. You ate what existed, and you honored the animal by wasting none of it. Before the great herd collapse of the 1870s, buffalo meat appeared in early frontier towns, tied to hunting regions, including some saloons, serving travelers near the plains. It was leaner and darker than beef, sometimes roasted, sometimes stewed. Travelers recorded eating it in hotels, camps, and settlements where buffalo still moved in numbers. For a moment in history, it felt endless. The land seemed to offer more than could ever be taken. Its disappearance wasn't driven by restaurant demand. Commercial hide hunting, railroad expansion, and federal policy destroyed the herds. By the time many towns grew large enough to support busy saloons, buffalo was already vanishing from menus. Abundance had never been permanent, and you wouldn't have known it was disappearing while you were eating it. Loss rarely announces itself in advance. Frontier kitchens wasted little bread. Stale loaves became pudding. Bread soaked in milk and eggs, baked slowly until firm. Some establishments added a whiskey sauce when supplies allowed. The dish was most common in boarding houses, though it occasionally appeared in meal-serving saloons. The surface browned, the center stayed soft. Steam escaped when the spoon broke through. Sweetness was rare enough to be noticed, and rare enough to be remembered long after the plate was empty. A spoonful could quiet a room for a moment. Fresh bread was far more common than hardtack in settled towns. Leftover bread soaked in broth or gravy became a quick filling plate. Pan drippings from salt pork or beef thickened with flour created a hot sauce poured over torn pieces of loaf. The bread drank the gravy, like dry earth drinking rain. It was humble food, but it was warm, and warmth carried weight on the frontier. Warmth meant rest. Warmth meant safety. Warmth meant you could keep going. Somewhere between the last bite and the door, the noise returned. Boots. Voices. Metal on metal. The stove kept going, because in the West, the work never stopped, and neither did hunger. That was the quiet rhythm of the frontier. Eat. Work. Endure.